So, you're back in Guild Wars 1 because of Reforged, or maybe this is the first time even looking at the game. Either way, you've got 10 professions to choose from, and picking the right one for how you want to play matters a lot, especially for your main. I'm Kyo, and I'm going to walk you through every single profession in about 200 seconds. What it does, how its primary attribute works, what makes it unique, and who should pick it. A quick ground rule before we start. In Guild Wars 1, you pick a primary profession at character creation. That locks in your armor type and your unique primary attribute. Later in the game, you can unlock a secondary profession, which gives you a second skill set to mix in. You can put points in these attributes, basically a skill tree, to improve skills, damage and healing of that attribute. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. These are my opinions after years of playing this game. Don't let me discourage you from picking a profession just because I call it harder. Hard means rewarding when you get it right. So let's start with the warrior. You want to know which profession hits the hardest in melee, can take a few hits and has straightforward mechanics? That's the warrior. Let me show you exactly what you're getting into. The warrior is the heavy armor melee profession. You walk into a fight, not around it. You have the highest base armor in the game together with the Paragon, meaning you wear heavy armor. You pick one of 3 weapons you can specialize in: axe, hammer or sword. Each weapon has unique skills. Your primary attribute is strength. Every point in strength gives you 1% armor penetration on your attack skills. So if you're sitting at 12 points in strength, you cut through 12% of an enemy's armor every time you swing. That matters a lot. Late game enemies can be tanky, and you, as a warrior, can push right through that. Beyond strength, you have 3 weapon attributes: axe mastery, hammer mastery, swordsmanship, and 1 utility line called tactics. Pick one weapon and max it. Don't try to do all 3. Axe gives you high spike damage and adrenaline combos with the eviscerate skill, for example. Hammer is your knockdown specialist. It's brutal in PvP and gives you control over the battlefield. Sword is for bleeding, deep wounds and sustained pressure. Tactics improve your shouts and stances. Shouts and stances are instant skills which have no cast time with an immediate effect. Most builds dip into tactics for a few defensive skills to survive longer in combat. Here is the thing that makes the warrior actually unique. Most of your best skills don't cost energy, they cost adrenaline. And you build adrenaline by hitting things and getting hit. So the longer the fight goes, the more adrenaline you build. You start a fight with 0 adrenaline. You swing a few times, your bar fills, and then you can use it on a finisher. It's a build and spend rhythm. Once this concept clicks, the whole profession clicks. The downside of the warrior is if a fight ends in 2 seconds or you get kited or slowed, you don't get to fire off your best skills. Warriors thrive in sustained engagement. Hit and run combat is not really your style. Beware of skills like Frenzy. This skill increases your attack speed, but it also lets you take double damage. It makes you fragile, but it's insanely good when used correctly. It's high risk, high reward basically. Pick a warrior if you want straightforward gameplay, big numbers, and you don't want to micromanage your energy. It's one of the best entry points for a new or returning player. It's also the profession that is easier to survive with in combat, which makes a huge difference when you're learning the game's other systems. Moving on to the Ranger. The Ranger is your archer profession, but that's only half of it. The Ranger is also the profession that can charm an animal companion. And it's the only profession that can use nature rituals which summon spirits, which effects change the entire battlefield. You're an archer plus a pet plus a battlefield manipulator. So let's break that down. You wear medium armor, which is better than a caster but worse than a warrior. You fight from range with a bow, which means you pick your engagements. And your primary attribute is expertise. Expertise is one of the strongest primary attributes in the game. Every point spent in expertise reduces the energy cost of your attack skills, your touch skills, your nature rituals, and your ranger specific skills by 4%. At rank 12, most skills cost roughly half as much energy. You are just spamming bow attacks while every other range profession is managing their energy carefully. Cheapest profession in the game to play energy wise. Beyond expertise, you have 3 lines. Marksmanship is your bow damage line. Every dedicated bow build maxes this. This increases your damage dealt with a bow. Beast Mastery makes your animal companion stronger and unlocks pet attack combos. Wilderness Survival covers your traps, your defensive stances, and most of your nature rituals. These are the spirits that block enchantments, slow your enemy's casting speed, or support your party. And here is what makes the Ranger really cool. You have a lot of ways to play them. The same character can be a pure DPS bow user, a Beastmaster who lets the pet do their killing, you can be a trapper who nukes a choke point before the enemy even arrives, or a spirit spam support that locks down enemy casters. It's the same profession, but 4 totally different builds. The trade-off, the bow damage is not the best. You won't out DPS an Elementalist. You are, however, very consistent. You deal damage from afar and you can let your pet take the damage for you. You rarely run out of energy with your expertise, your traps front load damage before fights start, and your pet adds another body to the fight. Rangers shine in survivability and can do most content solo. Pick Rangers if you like flexibility, you want to play at range, and the idea of having a pet that levels up alongside you sounds fun. And also pick it if you want to use skills at a reduced cost based on the Ranger's expertise. That's the Ranger, the Monk is up next. The Monk is the healer, the protector, the reason your party doesn't wipe at the first mob basically. If you ever wanted to be the person everyone wanted in their group, this is the profession. Let me explain how it works. Monks wear light armor, so yes, the healer is a glass cannon, kind of. You won't get hit that much because enemies usually go for the front line first, but if you draw aggro, prepare to back off, so positioning matters. Your primary attribute is Divine Favor, and this one's special. Every point in Divine Favor adds a flat extra heal on top of any spell you cast on an ally. So a 12-point Divine Favor monk is throwing free healing on top of everything they do. It's a clean, reliable primary attribute. You have 3 other prayer lines. Healing Prayers is the obvious one. It's direct healing and regeneration. Skills like Word of Healing, Healing Breeze, Patient Spirit are skills you see often that heals you and your allies. Protection Prayers is more interesting. Instead of healing damage, you prevent it. Skills like Reversal of Fortune and Shield of Absorption cancel out hits before they land, reduce your damage taken, or directly heal you when hit. Protection Monks can be arguably better than healing monks at high levels because preventing 100 damage is better than healing 100 damage. And there is Smiting Prayers, holy damage that ignores armor and hits hard against undead. Combine that with protection players and you get one of the most iconic solo farming builds in the game. A Smiting Monk farming mobs is a classic. Here's how the monk actually plays. Your bar is built around 2 or 3 big heals, 2 or 3 cheap reactive heals, and a defensive cooldown for emergencies. You scan your party HP bars constantly. You learn to predict damage instead of reacting to it. When a warrior charges into 3 enemies, you precast Guardian or Protective Spirit on him before he gets there to reduce incoming damage, and that's the monk's mindset. React healing is fine. Predict protecting is what separates good monks from the great ones. The downside of the monk, you don't kill things fast on your own. Smiting helps, but it's not your strong suit. And the moment enemies see you healing, you draw aggro. You become the target, so you need a front line to absorb the pressure. Don't go wandering around solo. If you want to mix in more damage, pick a secondary like Elementalist or Mesmer. This gives you more options to deal damage when playing alone. The secondary profession exists exactly for situations like this. That's the monk. Next, the Necromancer, who turns dead enemies into their own personal army. The Necromancer is the profession that gets stronger when things die. Curses, life-stealing, raising the dead, and an energy economy that lets you keep casting spells. As a Necromancer, you wear light armor. Your damage comes from spells, not weapons. And your identity is built around 2 things: sacrifice and using undead magic. Some of your best skills cost a chunk of your own health to cast. In return, they hit hard, they last long, or they regenerate. Your primary attribute is Soul Reaping, and this is the secret that makes the Necromancer the king of energy management in the game. Every rank of Soul Reaping gives you 1 energy whenever a non-spirit creature near you dies. So in a fight with multiple enemies, your energy bar is quickly refilling. There is a cap though. If you keep defeating enemies, it's hard to run out of energy. And this is why it can outperform other casters. Back in the day, and still now, Necromancers were often paired with a Ritualist or a Monk secondary profession. The reason? Energy. Soul Reaping keeps filling your energy bar every time something dies. So as long as your party is killing, your energy stays high. And this way you could use the Ritualist or the Monk skills to keep healing or supporting. You have 3 other lines. Death Magic is your minion line. Every point lets you control more undead servants raised from corpses, gives them a higher level, and makes them hit harder. A max out minion master walks into a mob with 5 minions and walks out with 11. Curses is your debuff line. Spiteful Spirit, Reckless Haste, Suffering, hexes that wreck enemy builds, remove enchantments and deal damage over time. That's Curses for you. Blood Magic is life-stealing, Vampiric Spirit and Vampiric Gaze are skills that take from the enemy and give it back to you. So here's the playstyle basically. You set it up, and then you let the fight happen around you. A Necro doesn't really burst. A Necro has layers of damage and pressure that an enemy team can't deal with all at once. By the time they realize what's happening, half their party is hexed, your minions are on them, and you've stolen 600 health back to yourself. The downside, you need bodies. Without them, your minion builds are weak, and sacrificing your own health all the time means you have to be careful when casting it mid-fight. Pick a Necromancer if you like setup heavy, slow burn classes that build up. Also pick it if you genuinely think managing an army of minions sound cool, because it really is. It's one of my favorite professions, and it has been my main alongside with the Paragon. Mesmer is up next, the hardest profession in the game and the most satisfying. The Mesmer is the profession that doesn't kill you with damage. Mesmers kill you by making sure you can't do anything. Interrupts, hexes, energy denial and degeneration. If the Necromancer is the slow build-up, the Mesmer is like a chess game. Let's break it down. The Mesmer uses light armor, same as a Necromancer and the Elementalist. Your skills are fast, your effects are subtle, and most of what you do is invisible to people who don't know what to look for. Other professions watch HP bars, the Mesmer watches enemy skill bars. Your primary attribute is fast casting. Every rank speeds up the activation time of your spells. And in PvE specifically, every rank also reduces your Mesmer spell recharge by 3%. So a maxed fast casting Mesmer is throwing 2-second spells in under a second, and recycling them faster than any other caster in the game. That speed is what lets you interrupt. This is possible when you have to cast before your enemy finishes their cast, and fast casting makes that easier. You have 3 other magic lines. Domination magic is the interrupt and punishment line. Skills like power block, diversion, backfire, these are skills that damage and shut down an enemy's ability to cast. Illusion magic are hexes that drain HP, slow enemy attacks, and confuse enemies with skills like Conjure Phantasm, Migraine and Clumsiness. Inspiration magic steals energy from enemies and gives it back to you. Energy drain, energy tap, power drain, interrupts that also pay you back. Here's why the Mesmer is the hardest profession in the game. You need to know what many enemy skills do on site and determine if you want to act on it. Because you're not playing your own build, you're playing against theirs. A good Mesmer recognizes an elite spell mid-cast and burns power block on it. A bad Mesmer wastes their interrupt on a 1-second nothing skill. The skill ceiling is enormous and the skill floor is brutal. That said, you don't have to play that way. You can run skills that deal damage over time and just let them tick. Or cast a hex, then shatter it and just watch for the damage. For example, you can cast backfire on a caster and they will deal themselves an enormous amount of damage when they are casting a skill. They need to remove that hex first, completely shutting them down. There are just multiple ways to play this profession. The downside, you don't deal that much direct damage. Mesmer support kills slowly, even though it's hard for the enemy to kill anyone in your party with you shutting them down. Your value is invisible to anyone who isn't paying attention. Pick a Mesmer if you love games where the win condition is denying the enemy. Elementalist is up next. The Elementalist is the nuker. The wiki straight up says Elementalists deal more damage in a single strike than any other profession in the game. Big spells, big numbers and big cooldowns. If you want to feel like a powerful wizard, this is your profession. The Elementalist uses light armor, meaning it's also squishy, and that's the standard caster trade-off. Your damage comes from spells across 4 elemental lines, and the choice of which line to focus on shapes the entire feel of the class. Your primary attribute is energy storage. Every rank gives you 3 maximum energy and improves a handful of energy management skills. You start the game with 30 base energy. A maxed energy storage elementalist with 12 attribute points in its line is sitting at 66 energy. Because they have that much energy, elementalists can throw Meteor Shower, then Searing Flames and Rodgord's Invocation back to back. They have the energy pool to actually do it. The 4 magic lines are fire, earth, air and water, basically the elements. Fire is your AoE damage line. Meteor Shower, Searing Flames, Lava Font, big visible damage over wide areas. Air magic is single target lightning that pierces armor, blinds enemies and knocks them down. Air allies are spike elementalists. They burst down a target before a monk or a healer can react. Earth magic is partly defensive with obsidian flesh and armor of earth, and partially armor ignoring damage with eruption and stone daggers. And water magic slows enemies, snares them and inflicts cold damage. Water is the kiting and control line. And here's a fun fact, Elementalists are the only profession in the game with no signet skills, and the only profession that gets glyphs. Glyphs modify your next spell. You can make a 25 energy meteor shower cost 0 energy or half its cast time. Glyph management is a layer of skill expression you don't get to see on any other classes. And because those glyphs are so useful, other professions pick a Elementalist as a secondary profession just to get access to them. Monks, for example, use them to cut the energy cost of their heaviest healing skills. The Elementalist playstyle is simple to describe and hard to execute. You do enormous burst damage, but if you mistime a big cast, an enemy can shut you down between cooldowns with knockdowns or interrupts. You're either nuking them down or you're useless. The downside? Energy. Even with energy storage, your big spells empty your bar fast, and once you're casting, you're a stationary caster. Most ally spells have a long activation time, also meaning that Mesmers have no trouble shutting you down. Positioning matters more for an ally than for almost any other profession. Pick up an Elementalist if you want to deal massive damage, you like the elemental theme, and you don't mind a profession that punishes mistakes. It's a profession that looks easy, but is hard to master. The Assassin is up next. Assassin is the burst class. It's where the Thief in Guild Wars 2 is based on. Daggers, medium armor, and attack chains that ramp up with their combos. Lead attack, offhand attack, dual attack, each strike unlocking the next, building towards a finisher that can defeat a target quickly. This is a profession that requires a bit of planning and gives you the highest reward when you pull it off. Let me show you how it works. You wear medium armor. It's like the ranger and the dervish, but worse than a warrior. Your weapons are daggers, which are dual wielded and fast, and your identity is the attack chain, a sequence of skills that only work if you fire them in the right order. Your primary attribute is critical strikes. Each point gives you a 1% chance to score a critical hit. And here's the thing, every critical hit also gives you energy back once you've invested enough in critical strikes. So your dual dagger combo, which crits a lot because of the dagger mastery, is funding your next combo. You don't sip energy, you're gaining it as long as you hit critically. Beyond critical strikes, you have 3 lines. Dagger mastery is the obvious one. More dagger damage, more crits, more chance to hit a double strike where both daggers hit at once. Deadly arts is your hex and debuff line. Skills that lower the target's defenses and set up your next spike. And Shadow Arts is your defensive and mobility line, which includes most skills of the iconic assassin mechanic, the Shadow Step. Shadow Steps are instant teleports. Press a button, you're behind an enemy backline. Death's Charge and Heart of Shadow are how an assassin gets in and out alive. Here's how to play. You look for a group of enemies, you pick a target, usually a healer or a caster, you precast your defensive Shadow Arts buff, you Shadow Step in, you fire your chain, lead, offhand, duel, and then a finisher like Twisting Fangs or Death Blossom. The target drops, you Shadow Step out before the enemies can react. That's how it works, it's the most satisfying gameplay loop in the game. When it doesn't work, however, your skill gets interrupted, your finisher is blocked, you get snared mid-combo, you die in 2 seconds. There is almost no middle outcome. The Assassin is more survivable than you'd expect. A big reason, skills like Shadow Form. Shadow Form prevents enemies from targeting you with spells and gives you damage reduction, based on how many assassin enchantments you have stacked. It does cap your own damage output, so it's basically used for surviving and repositioning, not for burst. It's been nerfed a lot, but it's still iconic and used in a lot of farming builds. Pick an assassin if you like high risk, high reward gameplay, if you like the pre-fight planning, if you want a precision of force, this is just for you. Just know, this is one of the more harder professions to play well, and the easiest profession to die on if you commit to a bad target. And if you made it this far into the video, consider giving a like or drop a subscription. Thank you very much. Ritualist is up next, one of the most flexible professions in the game. The Ritualist is an underrated profession if you ask me. It's 3 classes in one. You can build it as a healer, you can build it as a spellcaster DPS, and you can build it as a spirit spammer. It's the same profession, but totally different gameplay. Let's dig into it. The Ritualist wears light armor, standard for a caster, but your toolkit is anything but standard. You have 3 unique skill types that no other profession can use. Ritualists summon spirits through binding rituals. Unlike ranger nature rituals, these spirits actively attack or protect allies. You also have weapon spells, which are single ally buffs that enhance their weapon for a short duration. And item spells, where you literally pick up a holy ash urn and walk around with it in your hand for as long as the spell lasts, channeling its effect. Your primary attribute is spawning power. Every rank gives any creature you summon 4% more health, and any weapon spell you cast lasts 4% longer. So a maxed spawning power Ritualist has tankier spirits and longer buffs than anyone else. It also boosts a few specific skills tied to summoning rituals. Beyond spawning power, you have 3 lines. Channeling magic is your damage line. Lightning damage spells, energy management, and a few of the Ritualist's most efficient damaging skills. You can also summon damaging spirits like Bloodlust and Agony from this line. A pure channeling writ can out DPS a fire ally in some situations. Communing is a spirit summoning line. Every spirit that exists gets stronger here. More health, more damage, and a longer duration. And restoration magic is the healer line. This gives you access to heals, life-stealing skills, and party-wide protection. A restoration ritualist can be one of the strongest healers in the game. Here's why the profession is special. The Ritualist gameplay is about placement. You drop 2 or 3 spirits before the fight even starts. You position your team around them. The spirits do work passively while you cast. You weapon spell your warrior to give him extra bonus, you weapon spell your monk to make him uninterruptible, and meanwhile your spirits are healing or attacking on their own. It's macro gameplay. In that way it plays a bit like a minion master Necromancer. You're not just casting at enemies, you're also supporting your allies. The downside of the Ritualist, spirits are stationary. If the fight moves, your spirits don't follow. You learn to anticipate where the fight will happen and place accordingly. That takes practice. Later on, there are skills that allow you to take the spirits with you, yet you need to learn how to work with them. Pick a Ritualist if you want flexibility, you like setup gameplay, and you don't want to be locked into a single role. Restoration Writ is a preferred healer in PvE, easier to play than a monk and arguably stronger in long fights. The Paragon is up next. The Paragon is a spear-throwing battle commander. Think of it as a paladin, but instead of casting heals, you shout buffs and buff your entire party at once at range. The Paragon's reputation is Imbagon, and yeah, there is a reason for that nickname. Let me show you why this profession is so strong. You wear heavy armor like the warrior. Solid protection plus a shield in your offhand, and you fight at range with a thrown spear, which is short range for a ranged weapon but lets you stay out of melee. Your skill bar is dominated by shouts and chants, party-wide buffs that fire on the entire team within range. Your primary attribute is leadership, and leadership is really strong. At rank 12 leadership, you gain 2 energy for each ally your shout affects, up to a maximum of 6 energy per shout. In a full 8-person party, you're basically casting for free. Most of your buffs end up costing very little. With this in mind, it's hard to run out of energy as a Paragon. Beyond leadership, you have 3 lines. Spear Mastery is your weapon damage line. More spear damage, more crits, more damage from spear attack skills. Most Paragon DPS builds put points in here. Command is the buffing and defensive line. Shouts that reduce damage, increase armor, or help you reposition your team. And motivation is the energy management and healing line. Here you can find chants that give back energy or health to your party over time. These lines have chants. This has a cool animation that lifts you up in the air and gives you wings for a brief moment. And here's how the playstyle works. You're a buff bot, so you stand at the back, you throw spears for chip damage, and your real job is keeping a rotation of shouts and chants up at all times. Shouts like "there's nothing to fear" reduces incoming damage, and "go for the eyes" increase the critical hit chance of your allies. And there's "stand your ground", which gives your whole party an armor boost when not moving. Cycle them and your party never dies. One thing worth knowing, like the warrior, Paragons also use adrenaline for some of their skills and shouts. And that's why you often see Paragon Warrior or Warrior Paragon combos, both as a primary and a secondary. The synergy between these professions is strong, they feed each other. The reason Imbagon became to exist as a meme is exactly this. A Paragon stacking enough defensive shouts can make a party effectively invincible against most PvE content. Whole hard mode missions become easy. ArenaNet has nerfed the Paragon several times because of this, but it's still one of the most wanted support professions in PvE. And fun fact, back in the day I was a Paragon in a really good PvP team, and my job was to buff the DPS with "go for the eyes" and decrease an enemy's health with vicious attacks when my team was about to attack, allowing us with the right coordination to defeat an enemy in a second before a healer could react. The downside of the Paragon can feel a bit slow and therefore not that exciting. Your value is in groups. yet it remains fun to me. Buffing my allies is something I love. Pick a Paragon if you want to be a support powerhouse. You like buff stacking and you want a profession that scales massively in group content. The last profession now, the Holy Warrior, the Dervish. The Dervish is the Holy Warrior, scythe in hand, and put on your robes and stack your prayers. The Dervish hits multiple enemies per swing by default, transforms into a god as a signature mechanic, and rewards stacking enchantments more than any other profession in the game. Let's break it down and let me tell you why this profession is so great. You wear armor that looks like a monk's robe but has medium ratings, like the Ranger and the Assassin. You're a frontline melee profession that uses self buffs to become tanky. Your primary attribute is mysticism. Mysticism is unique. Every rank reduces the costs of your Dervish enchantments by 4%. And in PvE specifically, you also gain 1 armor per rank as long as you are enchanted. If you maxed out mysticism with 3 enchantments active, you're nearly warrior tier armor with caster tier mobility. The whole profession is built around being enchanted, and mysticism rewards that with cheaper buffs and tougher armor. Beyond mysticism, you have 3 lines. Sight mastery is your weapon line. More sight damage, more crits, and the sight itself is the key here. Every scythe attack hits up 3 adjacent foes in front of you. So even basic attacks are more efficient than any other melee profession. Some scythe attacks require adrenaline like the warrior and the paragon, so you need to be in fight in order to use them. Earth prayers is your defensive line and your earth damage line. Mystic regeneration from this line is a strong self-heal when enchanted. And Wind Prayers covers your mobility skills, your cold damage attacks, and a few of your best speed buffs. Here's the core mechanic: enchantment stacking and consumption. You cast 2, 3 and sometimes 4 enchantments on yourself before a fight. Then you fire skills that consume those enchantments to deal massive damage or trigger other powerful effects. Mystic Sweep, Aramit's Attack, Wearying Strike, these all scale with how many enchantments you have up. Using them removes an enchantment, increasing your outgoing damage. And there's the part you probably know the Dervish for, the Avatar forms. You can take an elite skill that transforms you into one of the 5 gods for a short period of time. Avatar of Balthazar gives you armor against physical damage and faster adrenaline gain. Avatar of Duena allows you to heal you when you lose a Dervish enchantment. Avatar of Lissa drains energy when you lose a Dervish enchantment. Avatar of Grenth lets you steal health when attacking, and Avatar of Melandru gives you extra health and elemental armor. The downside, without Dervish enchantments, you're below average. Enemy enchantment removal is your worst nightmare. A Mesmer or a Necro stripping your buffs leaves you exposed. Pick a Dervish if you want melee with a magical flavor. You like self-buff gameplay and the idea of literally turning into a god mid-fight sounds awesome to you. That's the 10 professions, from warrior to Dervish, every single one in the game. If you stayed this far, give this video a like and a sub to please the YouTube gods. Drop a comment with your favorite profession and tell me why this is your favorite profession. And feel free to share your opinion. I always answer and I always read them. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching and peace.